Today in this video I am going to describe about the parts of a stitch. Hopefully this will be helpful for the beginners. So let's begin. The main part of any basic crochet stitch is the top of a stitch. You see here, this is the main part of any basic crochet stitch. When a pattern says to crochet into the next stitch, that means you need to slip your hook under both the loops of the indicated stitch this way. So let me show you. So when a pattern says to place a stitch into the next stitch, that means you have to slip your hook under both the loops of the indicated stitch this way and place a stitch. So just slip your hook into the stitch under both the loops and place a stitch. So this is what means of placing a stitch into the next stitch. And then you might find patterns asking you to place a stitch in a front loop only or back loop only. That means you need to crochet only into one loop, not under both the loops. You just have to go under one of these two loops. Front loop is the loop of the stitch closest to you. So this is the front loop for the time because it's closest to me, and the back loop is the loop of the stitch further away from you. So this is the back loop because for the time it's farther away from me. Okay, so now let me tell you, if you are asked to place a stitch, that doesn't matter whether a double crochet, half double crochet or single crochet. I'm going to show you with single crochet stitch. So if the stitch if the pattern calls for a stitch only in the front loop, that means you have to slip your hook under the front loop only this way and place a stitch. Let me show you again. Slip your hook under one loop only, the front loop, and place a stitch. If a pattern calls for the stitch only into the back loop, then slip your hook into the back loop only under one loop, and that is the back loop, and place a stitch. Let me show you again. Just slip your hook under the back loop only and place a stitch. This way. Now let's see what's the post of the stitch. The post of the stitch means the body or the height of the stitch. To place a stitch using the post is to crochet a stitch wrap around the body of the stitch this way. Okay, so we just have to wrap the stitch around the post of the stitch if the pattern calls for the stitch using the post of the stitch. Okay, so this is the double crochet stitch, and I think you have already known how to place the double crochet stitch. If you don't know how to place, then there's a video tutorial in my channel. You can always go and watch, or you just can check the description box to get the link to how to crochet the double crochet stitch. So this is the double crochet stitch, and this is the most adaptive and familiar with lot of patterns. The post stitch crochet is mostly done with this stitch. So if a pattern calls for a front post double crochet, then let me just say you what to do. Okay, so let me turn my work to place. Here I turn, and so if a pattern calls for front post double crochet, that means you have to place a stitch in the post of this double crochet stitch in the front side. So to place a front post double crochet, yarn over, slip your hook under the stitch and take it away from the other side yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through the remaining 2 stitch. That means this is the front post double crochet because the stitch is placed in front of our project. So let me show you again. So to place the front post double crochet, slip your hook around the post of the stitch this way, grab the yarn, pull through and yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2 stitch. So let me place some more to let you know how to place a front post double crochet. Okay, so this is called a front post double crochet. See, the stitches are placed in front, that's why it's called a front post double crochet. Now let's know how to place the back post double crochet. So if your pattern calls for a back post double crochet, so yarn over. Now slip your hook from the back side of your project around the post of your stitch this way. See, I slip my hook from the back side and take my hook out from the other side of the same stitch and yarn over, pull the loop this way, and see, the stitch is placed in the back side of our project, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So let me show you again. To place a back post double crochet, yarn over, take your hook behind your project because it's a back post, it's not a front post. In front post we sleeve our hook this way to place a stitch in front of our project, but here we are going to take our hook from the back side around the post of the indicated stitch and take it out from the other side of the same stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Let me place some more and see, these stitches are on the back side of our project, right? And the back post double crochet is always placed on the back side of our project. You can make very beautiful patterns with this back post and front post double crochet stitches. See, this is called a back post double crochet stitch because all the double crochet stitches are placed on the back side of our work. So now let's know how the post of a single crochet stitch looks like. The post of a single crochet stitch look like a V. You see the post means the body or the height of our single crochet stitch just looks like a V, isn't it? See, each stitch have a V type of post. Since it is so short, so working a single crochet stitch or any stitch around the post of single crochet stitch is so uncommon. But in knit stitch, which is also called center single crochet stitch or the waistcoat stitch, or it's also called the split single crochet stitch, in this stitch we slip the hook between the two legs of the V-shaped post of this single crochet stitch. So in that stitch we don't slip our hook under these two loops, but we work in between the two legs of the stitch. You see, there's a space in between the two legs and we just have to slip our hook into that stitch like this so that it comes out from here. So let me show you. So it's uncommon to work around the post of the single crochet stitch since it's so short to work. But in knit stitch, we basically what we do, we just slip our hook into the in between the leg of the single crochet stitch like this. Okay, so this is the stitch, and in knit stitch we don't go under these two loops, but we insert the hook into in between these two legs of the stitch. So hope you can see here, you can see this is the stitch, but we are not going into it. In knit stitch we are going into this between the two legs of the stitch. So let's me place a knit stitch going into here, and it comes out from here. Okay, and then we place a single crochet stitch. This is done only in case of knit stitch, and place a single crochet. So hope you understand how to place a knit stitch. Now I'm going to skip the next stitch, and I'm going to slip my hook into this middle of this V, means middle of the post of the single crochet stitch. So let's do that. Put the hook there. Okay, and then pull up a loop, see, and the loop comes out from between the post of the single crochet stitch and place a single crochet. So this is how the knit stitch is done. Okay, so you have to continue placing the same in each and every single crochet stitch. So if you want a different tutorial just to learn how to make the crochet the knit stitch, then I'll make it for sure. Okay, so but you just knew the very basic of the knit stitch, like how to place, like in knit stitch we don't work in the stitch of the single crochet, but we work in the post of the single crochet. We slip the hook into the post of the single crochet and pull up a loop and place a single crochet. Okay, let's move forward. Now it's the half double crochet stitch, and post stitches are definitely possible with this stitch because of its slightly taller height than the single crochet stitch. So if any of your pattern calls for a front post half double crochet stitch, then obviously this is possible because of its taller height, which the single crochet stitch doesn't have. So just the same way you have to place as you placed the front post double crochet, just going around the post of this stitch and from the front of your work and placing you just have to place the half double crochet stitch, and it's possible because of its taller height like this, the front post half double crochet. And if any of your project asks for a back post half double crochet, then the same way as we did for the back post double crochet, like slipping our hook from the back of the stitch around the post of the stitch this way, and then pull up a loop from the back of your work and place a half double crochet stitch. That's that easy. Okay, but there's one more thing to learn about this half double crochet stitch, is that this stitch creates an extra loop on the back of the stitch called the third loop. So let me show you. You can find the third loop. You can find a lot of patterns calling for a stitch in the third loop. So let me show you the third loop. You see, this is a half double crochet stitch, and this is the front loop, this is the back loop, and This is the third loop. You can find a lot of patterns calling for a stitch into this third loop, and you can place this way. So yarn over, okay, so skip this front loop, skip this back loop, and place a stitch into the third loop here. So pull up a loop and yarn over, go through all the 3 stitches this way. So let me show you again. I'm going to place a half double crochet stitch in the third loop of the next stitch. So to place a stitch in the third loop, I'm going to skip the front loop, the back loop, and here is the third loop, and into this stitch I'm going to place my half double crochet stitch this way. Let me show you again. So here I'm going to place another half double crochet stitch into the third loop. So to place the stitch into the third loop, skip the front, the back loop, and here's the third loop just behind the indicated stitch, and place a half double crochet stitch. So it's that easy. And once you place a half double crochet stitch into the third loop of the stitch, then it looks this way. So hope this tutorial be beneficial for you. Don't hesitate to drop your questions in case you have any doubts. See you in my next video. Till then, goodbye.